Hello, everybody, and welcome to Issues Around the World. In today's country, we're going to be talking about Mexico. Have any of you guys ever been to Mexico? It's known for its beautiful architecture, rich history, and amazing foods. And did you know that over 1/4 of all worldwide Spanish speakers are from Mexico? But unfortunately, as I say these amazing facts, Mexico does still have some unfortunate situations. One of these is like the topic of women's rights. Women's rights in Mexico are nearly as enforced or as practiced. There's a few reasons why this is happening in Mexico. Is due to misogyny. The country's still trying to live in traditional gender roles and a cultural perspective. And I know that as you guys are hearing about this, some of you guys might think, well, why should I care? Why should I do something? Well, you should care because everybody deserves to have rights and to be treated equally, and we must pass this on to the next generation. This kind of mindset still is mainly in Mexico, but is being moved on to the U.S. And I know the way that you think. When people with kinds of mindsets immigrate to the U.S., they bring, and if they have children, they're gonna try to teach them as if they were in Mexico. And to prove this, we received a letter from a first generation Mexican American woman, and she tells us about a little bit about her life as when of her life growing up with these kinds of parents. And we also have information about from the Institute of Latino Studies at the University of Dame Norte, a journal that is called Women in Mexican Society by Victoria Meyer, a Mexican professor, and a article by Emma Suarez, who brings awareness to global issues. In Spanish, misogyny is called machismo. This is a form of sexism that creates a prejudice towards women and young girls. This is done through the teaching of specific values and ideas. According to the Institute for Latino Studies in Mexico, children are taught that there's an area for men and for women, which is the street and the home. The street is meant for men because after a long day's work and having to make money, the street is a place where men can relax, hang out with their friends, drink, and take a rest. Because since in this area you don't have any expectations, you can be yourself, this is the perfect area for men to be away from the family obligations. Women, on the other hand, are expected to be in the house or la casa. This is a place for women because since the man is working all day, every day, with barely any days off, she is expected to cook, clean, have the children ready, and the house organized, and she also isn't expected to take a rest because since this is an easy job, then she shouldn't have to complain about doing anything of this. And so she also isn't allowed to complain to her husband because who wants to be bothered after working all day? But even though women work just as hard maintaining a household as men do working outside. But as you see, this is just a little bit of the misogyny that is being taught to children in Mexico. But we also need to take into consideration about the cultural perspective. A country can still be moving forward, but the cultural perspective can dictate what to move forward on. I'm gonna tell you the definition of cultural perspective just so you guys know we're on the same page. Cultural perspective is how people view the world around them and dictate how to go about certain teachings. According to Victoria Meyer, a Mexican professor who worked at the University of Wisconsin, says that in Mexico, gender roles are seen as naturally defined, which is looked at the way of how family dynamics work, and how women are seen as a reflection of their house and father. In Mexico, a typical family dynamic is the father being the leader and reinforcer, and the mother being the caretaker and the nurturer. And I'm gonna give you some examples. As mentioned, since the man is seen as the head of household and the reinforcer, he has to be obeyed at all times. The only people who can disobey him are his sons, but only after they are married and they move out of his house. The women, on the other hand, they are expected to listen to him no matter what, and sometimes besides his wife and his daughters, his mother is still expected to listen to him. And I'm gonna teach you guys how this cycle is repeated. Since the sons are looking at what the father is teaching them, once they move out and they have children of their own, they're gonna be teaching them the same mindsets. And the wife, on the other hand, she's supposed to be teaching the daughters of the family their roles in the household, and how to be a good wife, how to be submissive, and how she must behave. Because if this isn't done, she is seen as damaged goods, and is very unlikely that she will marry into a family. And as I said, in Mexico, most women aren't seen as their own person, but as a reflection of their father and then their husband. Notice how I said notice how I said the word then. Women who get higher education are seen as defining their roles and not transitions settled on. They are taught that the reason for their existence was to be married and have children, and must be submissive. Anything other than that is an act of rebellion. But well, as you know, you are aware that the first two reasons for the lack of women's rights in Mexico, I'll let you in on another one, which is how we view traditional values. What would you say if I told you that some women lose their families and community support because of they choose a different way of life? As you know, some people still believe in the traditional values that the man is supposed to work and that the woman is staying home. But some people think that if you change this, your life will have no meaning. It will have no meaning. It will even be disowned. As you know, Mexico is a very community and very country. But as you hear about how I was saying how men are supposed to work, they are supposed to be taking care of the family. Well, because of this, women are very dependent on the man. Because of him, they're usually the man is the one who gives them food, he gives them a roof over their head, he gives them clothes, provides them a comfortable lifestyle. If a woman tries to go away from this, she is seen as wanting a bad life and is outcasted and judged. This mindset has caused women to become scared to leave and stay in the same situation because they're scared that they're gonna be left with nothing, and they cannot go back to their family because their chance that their family might give them the same treatment because they're leaving their roles. And as I mentioned before, we have a letter from a Mexican American woman, and in this expert she tells us a little bit about her life growing up. When my parents moved to the U.S. and had me, my mom was a housewife. But then after she saw that women were working and how women were earning their income, and so she decided to babysit children in the neighborhood. But even though this was still within her role, my father still got angry because, as you can imagine, taking care of children isn't easy. The house wasn't spotless, was still clean nonetheless. My father, in his anger, told my mother she has to quit her job. When my mother told this to my grandmother, I overheard my grandmother telling her that your priority should be your husband and your daughters. If your husband leaves you because of this, he has every right to, because you are not taking care of his needs. I remember my mother looking sad and ashamed, but she quit babysitting and continued to be a housewife. The reason why I'm telling you guys this is to understand that the situation for women in Mexico is even happening in the U.S. Kids growing up with these comments and situations around them will begin to believe them. And so, as you can see, this is happening in Mexico. Women are being oppressed, and young girls are being taught that they are meant to be suppressed and have few rights. We need to stop this by showing women that they have a support system to go to and have a new ensure the new generation be raised on gender equality. And so we need to stop the misogyny, the traditional values, and the cultural perspective. That's because these are the main ingredients that prevent women from rising and having their rights. My speech wasn't meant to entertain you. It was meant to provide you with information about what is happening in Mexico and how how there needs to be a support system for women, and show them that they have somebody to hang on to. Let's start doing this change right now.